Justin, how we doing today? Welcome to the next episode of Quarterly Learnings.
I am fantastic, Pete. How are you?
I am tired, but we're here, we grinding. You know, this game's
That's
not for the weak of heart.
that's right.
All right.
Um,
Hey,
what are we talking about today?
first topic, Airbnb just filed to go public.
Hell yeah. Shocker to me.
Why?
Uh, well, you think they would be tanking in a pandemic?
You'd
Why
think
don't you tell
that,
us a
but
little?
they just made a profit this past quarter. They have fully completed the pandemic bounce back.
That's crazy because I heard that they were down like 700 million in the first like what 9 months of the year, and then somehow managed to make a profit. Like
Yeah,
how are they doing this?
well, because think of how many people took trips throughout the summer, like socially distanced or driving trips or things like that nature, and people don't want to be in hotels right now. So
Yeah.
they saw a lot of they are not 2019 levels, obviously, but they saw a lot of their demand come back, and I'll be curious to see what that looks like. I would imagine it's not super. I don't know how Airbnb's demand is during the holidays, but I think it was just a Airbnb went from kind of a left for dead potential casualty of the pandemic to, oh, hey, now they're back and stronger than all the massive hotel brands that have a ton of debt on their balance sheets that they have to deal with, whereas Airbnb doesn't have to deal with that because none of the houses they actually own or places, you know.
Yeah, no, they definitely like pivoted in the right way and beat their beat the hell out of their competition. Hotels, the whole hotel industry. I know they've been trying to go public for a while, right? Like, or there's been talks and rumors, murmurs, whatever you want to call it, for the last what 2 or 3 years or since their inception, really. What do you think like kicked this thing off? Like, why are they trying to go public now of all times?
I think they're trying to. I think they're trying to gain more and more market share while their competitors are weaker. You know, this is the weakest you're going to get a Marriott, a Hilton, a Hyatt. Um, they have other competitors too that they list, but that's in terms of like their experiences business. I'm talking about just their core rental business. Um, they know that they've got the brand, they've got the demand for them to go public, and that they have the footing back under them. You know, after the first two quarters of this year were so bad, that they can finally make the move and go public like they wanted to do last year, but they just weren't able to do. And it kept getting delayed because of COVID. Yeah, I just think it's an interesting company just in general. It's going to be one of, if not the biggest IPO this year in the U.S. Obviously, the failed Ant IPO was going to be the biggest in the world ever, but that didn't go through, as we've talked about. And then I'll be curious to see if it's bigger than the Snowflake IPO. I just think it's interesting though that they like it's a it's a company that's a platform, but it's not acting like an Uber in terms of where they're not responsible for anything. They made safety commitments after following some shootings at some house parties that are taking place at Airbnbs. They've also cracked down on some other things. They did have a layoff though earlier in the pandemic. I don't think that was necessarily we're strapped for cash and we're trying to get through. I think a lot of it was strategic of what they were trying to do. So I don't know much about the actual layoff itself. Um, but I did like how they did establish a COVID relief fund of $250 million, although there were some issues getting that out to hosts.
Of course.
But they also do promote stakeholder capitalism, and that they're going to have some stakeholders on a committee of stakeholders on their board of directors after they go public. So you don't see that a lot from especially newer companies or tech companies that try to claim that they're saving the world and solving every problem on the earth, but then they, you know, reap the benefits and don't actually solve any of the problems that every company has offset, and then some companies try to help mitigate those and some don't, and Airbnb seems to be one that's at least trying to help mitigate that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you might be a homeowner here pretty soon. Sounds like. Do you think you'd be investing in Airbnb version of this? I mean, do you think you'd be using their services if you're if you're like vacationing or out for a month at a time and want to rent out your home to some people.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think it would depend how long I'd be gone for. Um,
You know,
and
we can't legally do it right now renting, but
yeah, yeah. But that'd be interesting. I don't know if I think if you would want to do it, and we've experienced this when we used Airbnb, specifically in London and Prague, is how you have some places that are meant for very, very short stays, up to one night to a week, and then you have some that want you to stay for even longer than that because they don't want a constant flow of new people. You know, the more people you let in, the more potential for things to go wrong are. Uh, so I feel like it would depend on how long I was gone for, and then if you could actually rent it out for enough times to make it worth it, depending on that time. So who knows? We're talking about huge hypotheticals.
so you gotta get a place first.
Yeah. But yeah, it's what do you think about like the redesign of the app and the website?
I thought it was a really, really smart move. I mean, they took advantage of like I said, hotels being down, and committing to safety. Um, I it sucks that they had to lay off 25% of the employees, but I mean, it seemed to work for them. Their whole plan seemed to work, especially able to pull a $219 million profit. Like that's crazy, and especially during pandemic on a
During
you know
Rona times?
during Rona times. No, I think it's very impressive. That they seem to have a good feel for things, and I look forward to IPOing. Whether they do well or not, I have no idea.
Oh, I think
Um,
it's going to go through the roof.
really,
I think it's going to be a very, you either love it or hate it kind of deal. You know, it's like your Cowboys. I think you're going to see people, uh, you're going to see people buy it up like there's no tomorrow, and you're going to see people try to short the hell out of it or think it's just not going to do well, but aren't confident enough to actually go and short it. I think it's a better long term play in terms of, you know, especially if they can. We'll have to see on business travel. A lot of hotels are very reliant on business travel. Airbnb is not quite as much. I know they have that option available, but that has to be worked out with your employer. It's easier to convince my employer, for instance, I want to go stay in a Hilton than it is I want to go stay in this rando's apartment.
right.
We're not even traveling anyway, though. So I'm talking about pastimes. But I think they've got a lot of runway to go, though, going into the future. You know, they can expand even more because, especially into a lot more niche areas, I feel like, especially when you're talking about, you're still going to be, even when we get the vaccines rolled out and everything, I think you'll see people go gangbusters, but I don't think it's going to be like flip the switch, we're back to normal and massive crowds. So you'll still see the summer of the national park continue for probably maybe another 2 summers, or doing things more outside naturey. But you know, how many people in, we'll use a Texas example, how many Airbnbs are there out in Marfa? You know, people going around Big Ben. Um,
Well, the outdoor scene might lend itself more like a lot better to the Airbnb model, just because you have a more low key spot to hang out in that you don't have to you don't have to interact a lot of times with the host. They'll just leave the key or a code or something, and there's an agreement, and you don't have to be waiting in a lobby or something like that with hotels. So I think it might even lend itself better during the next couple summers or however long the stigma kind of lasts. I know I'd be more willing to use Airbnb than a hotel in the near future, even when things open back up. So
yeah,
it's
you
probably
have.
a good indicator.
Yeah, you're less likely, the less people that have traveled through an area, you know, the more comfortable people seem to feel, and probably will feel going into the future. I also think if they do get such a successful IPO, they're going to have a large market cap and they can go on a buying spree and get whatever they want.
Sure.
So especially in the travel and leisure sector, which, while obviously it's going to rebound once in terms of stocks and market cap value, but once the vaccines are widespread and travel picks back up, but they may be able to go get somebody in the meantime, you know.
Yeah, it is also worth noting though that like can't go out saying that a lot of big companies like this that when they first IPO they do bleed a lot of funds, but I think in my opinion Airbnb is going to be just its own thing where we really just don't know. It's kind of a I wouldn't call it tech sector. I wouldn't call it really necessarily a a leisure sector. I don't know
It's a
what
platform
you really
that's
classify it. Yeah, it's a platform. It's its own
yeah.
thing. So it might set a precedent for future IPOs.
Yeah, set a precedent. And you know, it's also giving I think it's class H shares to hosts. And then once I want to say it's 100 billion market cap or something. It's there's a benchmark set to where once the market cap reaches that, hosts can start to sell their shares and cash in on the overall company success. So it gives them incentive to stay with the platform.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think it's in terms of is it going to flip or flop long term? I think this is going to be a flipper. I don't know the term. I'm not a I'm not a house flipper. I don't think you're going to see a flop.
Long
And
term at least.
not long term. Uh, and I as long as they can stay out of trouble with local governments and state governments, I think they'll be fine in terms of taxes and potentially just fighting with hotel unions. So it's not an easy road ahead for them, but it is a long one that if they want to take advantage of it, they likely can.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about Tesla getting the go signal from old Standard and Poor's.
Oh, we're talking about that, not the tequila. Did you see that a couple weeks ago? They came out with their own tequila.
I did not actually. Wait, what is this?
Yeah, so I
Tesla
mean,
tequila?
Elon just being Elon. I mean,
Does it come with the booty shorts?
probably. I don't even know what it's called. I think it's just called Tesla Tequila. Anyway, this is probably what put them over the hump, honestly. Or maybe they just knew they were going to be on S&P and
They just
trying to celebrate.
they
I
just
don't think they call. I don't think they call it Trace Comos or whatever it is. Uh, is that what it's called? Yes, yes. Trace Comos from Silicon Valley.
of course it is.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like you said.
Comas, you know that, right?
Yeah.
It's not comas. I mean, it could put you in a coma, but it's a 3 comma.
Well, it's Trace Comas. Come on, Spanish. You took Spanish in high school, right?
Speak more of it than you do.
Yeah, I probably do. But yeah, like you said, Tesla's on the S&P or going to be on the S&P 500. Looks like December 21st. So
Well,
what? So
just in
what
time
is
for
it?
Elon's Christmas, so he can afford some more gifts since his net worth skyrocketed back up again today as Tesla added. I think it got up to like 13% increase, and then it settled around 8% increase as more.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's less. That's not even including the amount of money that's about to flow into Tesla's stock because once it's in the S&P, all the index funds that track the S&P start flowing into it as well. That's just 20-year-olds in their basement going and opening Robinhood and buying 3 more Tesla shares.
you shut your mouth, Pete.
You don't
I'd
have
be
a
lucky to
basement.
buy 3 right now.
You're 27 and you don't have a basement.
Rude.
It was supposed to be a compliment, but continue.
Anyway, yeah. So like you said, we're talking about how S&P is prone to movement of Tesla, and also we're estimating that around like 20 to 40 billion. I know it's a huge gap there in money is going to
Just a
be.
little. It's a rounding error.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's only a couple of trace commas in that rounding error.
Whatever. Anyway, who knows how much, but multiple billion is going to be put into to buying Tesla stock coming from large institutions, not just the 20-year-olds in their basements. And so that'll definitely help boost the stock, or at least in theory. Um, I think you brought the point earlier of like who's going to be kicked out in exchange for Tesla. It's the S&P 500, so someone's got to leave if they're coming in.
Yeah. Somebody's getting showed the door.
You think it's gonna be anyone we've heard of, or is it just gonna be some
Well,
random
you've
company?
heard of most of the S&P 500. I would imagine it's probably going to be a low performer with not great growth prospects going into the future, so that they
Hot
won't.
take there.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm very controversial figure, as we know.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I don't know, man. It could be a shitco oil company. It could be some sort of hell. It could be a cruise line for all we know. Um, we'll see. I'm not going to speculate because you have 499 guesses that you are likely to get wrong.
Yeah, there's a couple we could probably rule out, but yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so I think that's just it's interesting. It was also this is going to happen in due time. You know, they weren't added originally because they had ballooned so much that people and the concerns are still there. Uh, the people that run the S&P 500 were concerned that such a big company coming in would have such now undue influence on the actual index. That's not going to change. I think they're more comforted now that Tesla put up another quarter of profit, and that the stock price has not receded rapidly. You know, there was no bubble pop to, and I think that maybe assuaged some fears.
Man, I'm looking at the Tesla tequila right now. I couldn't help myself, and it is $250
Okay.
and in the shape of a lightning bolt. It's exactly what you expect from Elon.
Yeah.
A fucking freak, a very rich freak. Um,
You think the SpaceX one thing that just launched had some tequila on board for the astronauts?
oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Every corporate event, every event they're gonna have for the near future, $250 for tequila. Come on, man. Like, I don't know if I trust that one. The bottle is dope, though. I'm gonna lie. It doesn't have a worm in it though, so it's not really official until it has a worm in it.
Yeah. If you say so. Yeah, it's one of those things. Long time coming, good for the stock. I think it helps validate the company to a lot of investors that either don't get the Tesla quote unquote story or weren't 100% convinced an electric vehicle company can actually, you know, command the market cap they do. It also command the profits that they're seeing at the moment. You know, they've got all cylinders firing over there in Tesla.
Yeah, I won't lie. I was speculative for a while. I mean, just short term at least. Long term, I was like, okay, this is a disruptor. It's gonna be fine. But
Same.
yeah,
That's how I think about all the EV companies. I think there's going to be heavy competition in the future as the more established names start throwing dumb, you know, when I say dumb money, I mean, fuck you money at the problem and the problem of petrol cars. And now you're going to start seeing more and more EVs come out from all the legacy names, and Tesla's not going to be the only game in town. So they're going to have to put their money where their mouth is. You know, they're all their new S&P money with innovations, better battery life, things of that nature.
well, you know what they're doing, right? At least what they're doing in Austin. Not just the new Tesla plant. They are Elon's little prize project here is the underground tunnels that he wants to do.
Oh,
And
we're getting
Austin
the boring
apparently
project.
the what?
We're getting the a boring project.
That's it's yeah. It's there's murmurs.
Has somebody told him that it's only solid limestone under the ground, the entire
And he
area?
said that, yeah, he said that's perfect for Tesla. Little does he know what we clearly know, seeing Mopac go up. That's not the case. He might run into some beetles or some caves or something.
Yeah, but he's
Some
also willing to spend a
slides
lot
down
more
there.
money than the lowest bid contractor did on Mopac. So, anyway, so
Oh, that's
pivoting from something people that didn't grow up in Austin won't will understand. So, we both agree though this finally validates Tesla to not only reluctant investors but people who maybe not were not firm believers, and it also gives it a better capital base, being a part of the S&P.
yeah. No, this is nothing but good news for Tesla and Tesla stock owners for sure.
Agree. So let's also talk about Amazon having a small little announcement today. They've decided they want to go disrupt the healthcare space, specifically the pharmaceutical space. So Amazon Pharmacy is launched now. I think you were saying it was already officially launched. Is that right?
Yeah, I opened up Amazon today, and sure enough, plastered on the front page at the top was now offering Amazon Pharmacy. So that is official as of today. It
Yeah,
is.
but we think it's based on their acquisition of PillPack, right?
Yeah, so that happened back in 2018. I know we have a couple friends that used to work for them or be interns for them, but they worked them to the bone. Hiring the lowest people they can, the cheapest workers that are suitable for it, that are pharmacy students, trying to get them involved.
Yeah,
And
but hey, look what
yeah,
we're getting into now. It's Amazon Pharmacy, and Prime members can now get their prescription shipped to them with 2 day shipping for free,
yeah,
rather than relying on the postal service. So another blow to the USPS by Amazon, but also, this is taking some direct shots and ricochet shots at companies like CVS, Walmart, Rite Aid, Walgreens, GoodRx. GoodRx stock got slammed today.
yeah,
And I only mention that just because of the response, and that people now, once Amazon has entered the chat, everybody freaked out and immediately. I thought it was interesting though, like Amazon didn't increase in much value based on this news. Maybe people are waiting to see them bring the receipts, specifically CVS receipts that go about 5 yards in length, in total length, but when you bring those long ass receipts to the next couple of earnings and see how it's actually doing.
yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, like you were kind of mentioning, like with PillPack, they had this, not under the Amazon name per se, but they did own it, so it was available. So they were kind of testing out the waters, it seems like, and from everything this is pointing to, it was successful to where they could ramp it up to make it very widely available through the Amazon branch, and directly use their name. So
Yeah,
yeah, and you mentioned
utilizing
Walmart.
utilizing one of the best supply chains in the world to do it. So,
Exactly. Yeah,
um,
you mentioned Walmart too. I know they have been really pushing to get their telemedicine stuff out, and all the pharmacy stuff a little more widely available in recent months. And seems like they have some really direct competition in the disruption portion of this. I mean, like you said, CVS, GoodRx, all that stuff. They kind of were relying on this. Walmart wasn't so much, but they were trying to get into the industry ahead of time. And I didn't know Amazon was going to be making this big of a move. I don't know if anyone really did.
well, I did because I'm a genius, but and I've heard it from other people that are smarter and more well informed than me. But no, it was rumored this is going to happen. Amazon has launched a healthcare venture with J.P. Morgan and Berkshire Hathaway. I'm not saying that's the exact same thing, but it was not new that Amazon wanted to get into the healthcare space in general. I think this is it's a brilliant move though, because it's utilizing their already existing supply chain and delivery network, and they already have the majority of American households have a Prime membership. So their total addressable market, like their TAM, is just incredibly large for this, and everyone needs prescriptions at some point in life. That's one of the, death, taxes, prescriptions, and the Texans disappointing. I don't know the guarantees of life, but I think it's a great move, and I think it's also interesting that Walmart's coming after Amazon for grocery and already had the existing pharmacy business, and now Amazon is going after Walmart's pharmacy business. So it's like, which of those two aspects, that dichotomy, is going to be more valuable in the long run for these two? It's not David and Goliath. This is Goliath v Goliath, Rocky versus Creed.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I mean, do you think they hurt each other by competing like this, or do you think it might even help both of them by providing the service
I mean,
of both services?
if Americans can get prescription drugs faster, more reliably, on time, and hopefully cheaper, I don't care which of these two companies makes a little less profit than the other.
Right. But I mean, also the competition too between each major industry might make it cheaper for everyone else, and more readily available depending on which one
Yeah.
you use. If they're both staying around, which I assume they will.
Yeah, it'll be we need to learn more about, I think, how the pharmaceutical middlemen are going to work into this, since they're the ones that are the biggest issue of price gouging, that's passed along to the consumer. So how are those, how are those people going to be, in companies going to be involved in the price setting? Is Amazon literally just going to be the UPS guy showing up with your pills, or are they going to be taking a more involved role of trying to pass along savings, and taking potential losses in this division to try to even get more people hooked onto their Prime membership, or maybe they increase the Prime membership if you're also starting to use the pharmacy aspect. So I don't know. We'll see.
I guess
But
you hope the latter, but what does that actually mean in the long term too? It's like then you become even more reliant on their service.
yeah, I think it also gives Amazon a way to extract even more revenue out of American households that they already are doing. So they're winning even more where they already dominate, rather than relying on more and more global expansion. We're about to see them dominate over the holidays here in a sec. And I would imagine we'll start seeing preliminary results of how Amazon Pharmacy is doing in terms of revenues and the target for that. So it'll be. I'm curious to see how it versus Walmart, and I'm all for the battle of the e-com giants, as long as stuff is made easier for me and cheaper for me and arrives at my door when I want it to.
Absolutely. Well, world domination's
Oh,
coming
it's
very
already
soon
here.
by Amazon.
We're talking about the richest guy in the world. He's already achieved that. It's at this point now. It's just how much more can you go?
Oh man.
Let's wrap up talking about the Moderna vaccine. So we have now not one but two mRNA vaccines that are both over 90% effective. Or Pfizer, I think, was at 90.
At 90,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, and then Moderna vaccine showing a 94.5% effective rate, and it can actually be stored in non sub Antarctic level temperatures. It can be stored in normal freezers. So I'm so happy though that these are working. You know, I I didn't want to speak it that much and jinx it, but I've been telling people for a couple months that a lot of these, less so these companies, but more also the distribution, that these types of companies and other companies that are going to be in charge of distributing it and making the actual supplies to get it distributed, they would not be taking on the R&D,
Right.
the billions in R&D, if they didn't think they had it up front. Um, this is the most closely watched vaccine development in human history. It's also the fastest and going to take,
By a lot.
yeah, and going to take the most coordination. I think it's really good news though for the mRNA vaccine development. I'm not 100% sure that both of us are. You're an engineer. I'm a marketing person. We both like business news. We're not great at the whole science part, but so I'm not 100% sure how normal vaccines are made in comparison to these. But if I understand, these are gene sequenced, and then they uh, develop the vaccine based on the genome of the actual virus itself. And so I don't think it's an accident that the two vaccines that were using the smarter technology were the first two, and that they're extremely effective, considering that the FDA benchmark, which was raised above the flu vaccine, was 50% effective.
Yeah. No, I mean this is awesome news. Like you said, you start talking science, I mean my eyes glaze over. But yeah, no, I don't think it's a surprise that the more advanced technologies was being implemented and successful too. I mean, 94.5% is pretty crazy. I know I won't disclose who, but I mean people close to me are involved in this trial, and so it's really good to see that this was.
You didn't want to give me the hookup? What the hell?
I could have actually, yeah.
Damn
I,
you.
I, I was offered it myself. I didn't do it just because kind of a labor intensive thing.
All right. Well, we're
And
going to discuss this off air. I have
yeah,
words. I have
could take a
words
couple
for you.
grand. Um, yeah, but no, it's great to see that it's so effective and like you said, not having to be stored at what like negative 80 degrees Celsius, whatever the other one was.
Yeah,
So
whatever.
we have another option at least.
There's
Which
another option. It's effective. The only thing I think they have left to see is how it affected like asymptomatic transmission and a few other things. So the data still needs to be peer reviewed, just like Pfizer's. Um, but they're already projecting 20 million Americans could be vaccinated by the end of the year. You know, and considering it's mid-November, that's great to hear. That at least it can start, and the people that need it the most, healthcare workers, the military, first responders, can start to get it. I thought it was also interesting how, if you want some reading on the side, go look at the spread rate among the U.S. military, and then compare it to the normal public. And then my favorite quote of it, it's only a tad bit lower, and by tad I mean a lot lower. Um, and I think it was one Marine sergeant or Army sergeant said, "It's not hard. It's called discipline." in, term, in terms of this, and it's true.
Oh
You know,
man.
it,
Yeah,
it's true. Like,
that's
well, we won't dive into all of that, but I think it's very true, and we're seeing the exact opposite of that a lot, especially out on weekends at night. So,
yeah,
um,
as funny as that is, it's a little dark humor.
little dark, but hey,
Deep down.
so we're what I really want to see though is January 20th, 12:01 p.m. The Defense Production Act is authorized and utilized to take both, if as long as the safety is approved, take both these vaccines, and that companies outside of Moderna and Pfizer start making them. You
Just
know,
yeah. That's been the whole plan, right? Is once they have two or three that they're able to just shut down all the other stuff and
I don't
start
know
to
if they'll shut them down. I'm hopeful though they can retool their supply chains. If you know, if you're the 16th guy to the party, you're probably not going to be getting the same drinks, and by drinks I mean government contracts, as the people that showed up first, and already had laid claim to the keg. So I'm that's what I'm hopeful happens. You know, I think it's fine in terms of the competition. Some vaccines may be there are going to be differences in them just because they're all developed by different companies and also developed in different ways. But if these are proven to work, you know, every day we can get more and more people inoculated is another day we're closer to being out of this shit.
yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know how feasible that is. I don't know in terms of just how many other companies there are, biotech companies there are that can actually do that and make the vaccine in the way that's and store it in the way it's needed. So we'll see. But it's another thing of good news, and let's hope we can keep that up, keep that on a roll. We need it.
Couldn't agree more. Let's end 2020 on a positive note for once,
And we're going to end this podcast on a positive note.
Okay.
Everybody, like, rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, all your friends, not
All
even the one that's hiding. But yeah, thanks for listening. See you next time.
bye.